Morning, folks. Well. Quite the result last night. Liam Smith stopping Chris Eubank Jr. in the fourth round. I didn't expect it to end like that, especially not so early by the fourth round. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? In the build-up, the face-to-faces, Eubank said things like, "I've never been hurt. I've never been down. I've never been stopped." All three of those things happened. He was put down quite heavily by that first barrage, punctuated with the left uppercut and the left hook, and he never really recovered from that. I mean, he got up. If I was that referee, personally, I would have stopped it because his legs were wobbling all over the place, his eyes were rolling around in his head. But yeah, this boxing, I understand why they let it go, because you've got to give him a bit of a chance. And once he went down that second time, he could barely get up. I mean, I know there was the protesting that he could have gone on, and he was sort of arguing with the referee and things. But look at the state of the guy. The referee's job is to protect the fighter from obviously harm, and he was going to get seriously hurt. I mean, he was seriously hurt. So I was pleasantly surprised. But I thought Eubank might pull it off. I thought he might spoil it into a points victory, because that's what he kind of does. I thought he'd spoil and just make Smith miss. I mean, his best round, Eubank's best round, was the third. He just couldn't miss Smith with those right uppercuts. Every time he threw that right uppercut, it pretty much landed. And I thought, and you could see the reddening round Smith's sort of nose and forehead. And I thought, yeah, he started, because the first two rounds, obviously, Smith was doing well. He was catching him with a jab. Every time he threw a punch, Eubank was kind of jumping back, and I thought, yeah, this is interesting. And like I say, by the third, with those uppercuts, like I say, he could not miss Smith with those right uppercuts. Yeah, but it is what it is. It's levels, isn't it? I mean, obviously, Eubank, that's his third loss now. He's 33. There's nowhere really for him to go. I mean, I know there is a rematch clause. I don't really want to see the rematch personally, but who knows? And I think that pretty much just wipes off the Conor Benn fight, which I never wanted to see in the first place, because I thought it was a joke and the weight thing was a big issue. But there's money, and I understand boxing's a business, so there was money to be involved because of the history of their dads. But no, it was an enjoyable night of boxing. I enjoyed the whole card, really. Yeah, that was fight of the night. The main event was fight of the night, definitely. It ended earlier than I thought it would, and what a stunning knockout! What a stunning way to finish the fight. So there probably will be a rematch. They'll probably push for it. They'll do the angle of Eubank saying he could have gone on. They'll push that. I can't see a rematch ending any differently, really. I think it would be exactly the same. Personally, I'd like to see. I know he's 34 now, and he's kind of had his day. Former WBO light middleweight champion. I'd quite like to see him get another crack, maybe at Charlo down the road. I mean, obviously Charlo's got his date with Tim Tszyu coming up at some point. I know it's been postponed, but I don't see why not. Give him another shot. He'd probably lose. I mean, the Charlo brothers are pretty special. I know a lot of people criticise them for not fighting very often and whatnot, but I think at Liam Smith's age and stage in his career, I think they'd be a bit too good for him. But I think he deserves a shot. A lot of people thought Eubank was going to win. I thought Eubank was going to win, not because I thought he was necessarily better. I just thought, Smith had more miles on the clock. And yeah, but there you go. That's boxing for you. I wasn't too impressed on the night with Joe Parker, to be honest. I mean, he got the win over Jack Massey. I mean, I've never been that impressed with Parker anyway. Nothing against the guy; he's a nice guy. He's a decent enough boxer, but when I saw him against Carlos Takam a good few years ago, he just looks he looks gun shy. He reminds me of, this might be an insult, and I don't mean it's an insult. He reminds me of Audley Harrison at times. Yeah, he doesn't seem to have the heart when the guy starts firing back at him. He doesn't seem to know what to do. I mean, those two, in my opinion, those two victories over Chisora kind of flattered him, really. Um, it made him look a bit better than he was. I mean, it was a razor-thin decision, the first fight with Chisora. But he couldn't finish Chisora. Okay, Chisora's tough and whatnot, but I don't know. And I've seen him a couple of times with his fight with Junior Farr, the all-New Zealand fight a couple of years ago. And he just looked flat, and it was boring. He's boring to watch at times. And last night he was cracking Massey with some fucking good punches. And Massey's a blown-up cruiserweight, let's not forget. He's not a natural heavyweight. Fair play to Massey for lasting the full 10 rounds. And he fired back, and he gave it a go. But Jesus Christ. I was just waiting for Parker to do something. And he was cracking him with some good punches, but I don't know, he just seems disheartened all the time. This has nothing to do with the Joyce, getting knocked out by Joyce last year. I don't know, it's just him, I think. He's always been the same to me. Every time, the fight with Joshua, okay, the referee ruined that one. But he just seemed gun-shy and sort of reluctant to let his hands go and worried about what's coming back at him. And I don't know, in my opinion, he's always been a bit of a hype job. I mean, he came from a country that isn't really known for boxing. I mean, New Zealand isn't. They have some fighters throughout history, but it's not a boxing country. They're not. It's not their national sport. It's not a big thing like it is here or in the United States or the Philippines or Mexico. So I think he was kind of flattered. It was kind of like, I don't know if you remember Brian Nielsen, the Danish fighter, heavyweight from years ago. Yeah, he was fed a steady diet of journeymen and washed up fighters from the 80s. And he, got wins over him. He got this big following and he's wonderful. But then the likes of Mike Tyson give him a pasting. He wasn't as good. He wasn't that good, but he was a big hero in Denmark because, they knew how to market him. And it was, in my opinion, it was kind of the same with Parker. I mean, he was lucky to get that win over Ruiz in 2016. He looked awful against Hughie Fury. And I think it was Dino Bogdan, or so, I can't pronounce the guy's name, the sparring partner. He looked awful against him. I mean, he won. And then, of course, Joshua took his title. So, in my opinion, it's time he hangs him up, really. But that's just my opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you don't agree, that's fine. He's a nice guy. I've got no problem with him. He's capable. He's got the skills, but to me, he hasn't got the desire, and he hasn't got the heart. And there's just something missing. There's just something missing from his game, really. But there you go. That's boxing for you. Hope you enjoyed it, and take care, folks.